Throw away for obvious reasons. I, 36M, have been married to my wife, 34F, for 10 years, together for 13. No kids, just a mortgage, 2 cats, and what I thought was a stable life. You know how you just kind of settle into a rhythm. Wake up, work, dinner, Netflix, maybe sex once or twice a week if the stars align. Not perfect, but steady. That was us. I work in IT. Long hours, but it pays well. She's a graphic designer, freelance, so she works from home, jogs in the morning, sips herbal tea, lives her artsy little life. I'd always been a little in awe of how effortlessly she seemed to exist. Cool, charming, put together. But about 6 months ago, something shifted. She started locking her phone. That was the first flag. Not immediately a red alert, but it was weird. We never locked phones before. Clients are getting too personal, she said. Just protecting my boundaries. Alright, fair enough. I trusted her. Then came the mood swings. Hot and cold like she was on a damn thermostat. One day she's massaging my shoulders and asking about my day, the next she's barely grunting back at me over dinner like I'm some background character in her show. I chalked it up to stress or hormones or maybe her mother being a pain again. But the final straw, the thing that turned a vague discomfort into a nagging something's wrong pit in my stomach, was the new friend she kept casually mentioning, Ricky. Ricky, the fitness coach she met through one of her freelance clients. Ricky, who knows so much about recovery smoothies, and who just gets it, you know. Ricky, who had apparently become her jogging partner, because it's safer to run in pairs. Let me just say this now, no straight man named Ricky who runs at 6 a.m. with your wife for safety has noble intentions. Anyway, that's the setup. That was the air I was breathing before the storm hit. It was a Thursday. Random, unassuming Thursday. I came home late from work because Jenkins at the office can't code his way out of a paper bag, and I had to clean up his mess, again. I walk in, expecting leftovers and the usual dead-eyed scroll through streaming options, and instead, I find my wife sitting cross-legged on the couch, giggling at her phone. Now, I'm not the jealous type. I'm really not. I've always thought jealousy is just fear in a leather jacket, loud, insecure, and trying too hard. But something about the way she snatched her phone close when I walked in made my spine twitch. "Who's got you smiling like that?" I said, light-hearted. She flinched, actually flinched, and said, "Oh, just a meme my friend Becca sent." Becca, huh? The same Becca who hasn't made her laugh since Obama was in office? I said nothing. Just kissed her cheek, told her I was starving, and headed to the kitchen. But I filed it away. I'm not dumb. You don't flinch over a damn meme unless the meme's name is Ricky and it has a six-pack. That night, while she showered, I caved. I know, privacy and all that. But my gut was burning like bad whiskey, and something told me to check the iPad. It was synced with her messages. She forgot that. I tapped open the Messages app. And there it was. A thread labeled Ricky flexed biceps fire. The last message read. Still thinking about your lips on me this morning. Jogging's never been so hard, smiling face with horns. And her reply. Haha, stop. You're gonna get me in trouble, face blowing a kiss. In trouble. Like she was a teenager sneaking a cigarette behind the gym. Not a married woman sharing a mortgage with the guy making spaghetti in the next room. I felt the blood drain from my head. I didn't rage. Didn't cry. I just stood there, holding the iPad like it had bitten me. Because in a way, it had. This was real. This wasn't just a gut feeling anymore. This was confirmation. A lit match in the gas-soaked room of our marriage. She came out of the shower in one of those big fluffy robes that made her look like a spa commercial. Steam trailing behind her, skin glowing, smelling like eucalyptus and betrayal. I was still sitting at the kitchen counter, iPad in front of me, unopened beer next to my elbow. I hadn't touched it. Felt wrong, like drinking in a church. She saw my face and stopped. Just froze. I looked at her and said, calmly, too calmly, honestly, so, Ricky's got hard jogs now. Silence. Then that flicker in her eyes. The one people get when they're calculating, fight or flight, lie or admit. And she chose the classic opener of the guilty. What are you talking about? I held up the iPad, tapped the screen twice, and turned it toward her. Her face went white, then red, then back to white. A whole mood ring of panic. That's not what it looks like, she said. Oh good, I replied, because what it looks like is my wife sexting some bicep with a man attached to it. Then came the excuses. You've heard them. Maybe you've even said them. It was harmless. I was just bored. You've been distant. I didn't mean for it to go that far. I never slept with him. That last one hit me sideways. I hadn't even asked if she'd slept with him yet. My silence must have done the asking for me. I stared at her. Just stared. And then I said, all right. I'll bite. Define far. She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. It was just kissing. Maybe a little touching. But nothing else. Right. Just the tip for the texting age. I didn't yell. Didn't throw anything. I just stood up, looked her square in the eyes, and said, go sleep in the guest room. She tried to argue, said we should talk about it. That she needed me to understand. But I wasn't ready to understand. I was still trying to wrap my head around who the hell she even was anymore. Morning came fast. I barely slept, just laid there staring at the ceiling like it had answers. She shuffled into the kitchen like a zombie, made coffee like it was a normal day, like we hadn't hit a marital iceberg 12 hours ago. I watched her from the hallway. She looked off. Guilty, sure, but also defensive. Like she was preparing for a courtroom, not a marriage. She finally said, are we going to talk about it? I told her I'd slept on it and I still didn't buy the just kissing story. I asked her, calmly, if the roles were reversed, would you believe me? She didn't answer. Just stared into her coffee like it had a lawyer in it. So I said, I want the truth. Not the PR version. Not the emotional alibi. The truth. And wouldn't you know it, suddenly the story changed. Okay, fine. We slept together once. But it didn't mean anything. I felt so alone, and he made me feel seen. You're never home, you're always busy. It just happened. That phrase, it just happened, is the verbal equivalent of a shrug while lighting your house on fire. I remember nodding. Just once. A single nod, like my brain was buffering the information and finally loaded the full betrayal in 1080p. I didn't scream. Didn't flip the table. I just said, thank you. Now I know. She panicked. I could see it. The confession didn't bring her peace, it brought her fear. Like now that I knew, the game was over. She said she still loved me. That she didn't want this to end. That it was a mistake, and I didn't even enjoy it, and I was thinking of you the whole time. That last one made me laugh. Out loud. Couldn't help it. A bitter little chuckle slipped out like my soul burped. You ever get cheated on and then be told you were the emotional soundtrack to the cheating? Like that's supposed to help. That was the moment I knew I couldn't just get over it. This wasn't a bad night. This was a fundamental fracture. I didn't blow up. I didn't punch a wall or cry on the bathroom floor. That's not really my style. My version of rage. It's cold. Quiet. Like standing in the eye of a storm and watching everything around you collapse in slow motion. That day I went through the motions, showered, dressed, went to work, but I was basically running on autopilot. Couldn't concentrate. Couldn't eat. Couldn't stop replaying that line in my head, it didn't mean anything. What is it with cheaters and that line? Like the absence of emotional attachment is supposed to make it better. Like I'm supposed to say, oh thank God, I was worried you loved the guy, turns out it was just casual betrayal, cool cool cool. I didn't text her all day. I didn't call. And when I came home, she was waiting. Eyes red, makeup smeared. She looked like regret in a sweater. I made dinner, she said. I ignored it. Walked past her, straight to the bedroom, grabbed a duffel bag, and started throwing some clothes in it. She followed me. Please don't leave, she said. I zipped the bag. Looked her dead in the eyes and said, I'm not leaving you. I'm leaving this pressure cooker of bullshit. I went to stay at a buddy's place. Told him I needed a few nights to clear my head. He didn't ask questions, just handed me a beer and queued up a dumb action movie. Real friend stuff. But I couldn't focus. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her with him. Not even the sex part, just her laughing with him. Smiling at him. That intimacy. That easy comfort. That was mine. And she handed it over like a free sample at Costco. And I started asking myself the questions you should never have to ask. How long had I been living in the lie? Was I really that blind? Was I just, not enough? And there it is, the raw nerve. That quiet little voice in the back of your skull whispering, you weren't enough. There's something about sleeping on your buddy's lumpy futon with a cat pawing at your face at 2 a.m., that makes you confront things. I laid there, staring at the ceiling fan wobble slightly like it was thinking about quitting, and I finally asked myself the hard question. How the hell did I get here? And not just here, in a literal sense. I mean here, emotionally, spiritually. A married man whose wife had wandered off and fallen face-first into another man's abs. A guy living out of a duffel bag because trust had packed up and left the relationship first. I started retracing the last year. The distance between us. The missed date nights. The, I'm too tired, excuses. The late-night laughs she used to save for me, suddenly directed at her phone. And here's the kicker, I let it slide. I saw the signs and chose not to see them. Because I didn't want to believe she was capable of something so small, so selfish, so cruel. Somewhere along the way, I got so comfortable being the steady husband, that dependable guy, that I forgot marriages need more than just showing up with groceries and remembering birthdays. But, and this is important, I didn't cheat. I didn't stray. I didn't lie. I didn't give up. She did. So I looked in the mirror that morning. Unshaven, eyes sunken, soul halfway out the door. And I said, you're not broken. You're betrayed. Because there's a difference. Broken is on me. Betrayed is on her. That little distinction. It was the first time I started to feel human again. Not whole, not healed, but human. Like I still existed outside of her choices. And that gave me just enough clarity to make a plan. 2 days later, I went back home. Not because I missed her, and definitely not because I was ready to forgive. I just couldn't sit in limbo anymore. I needed straight answers, or as close to them as I was ever going to get from someone who had lied with a straight face while folding our laundry. When I walked in, she looked like she hadn't slept. Hair tied up, hoodie way too big, eyes searching me like I was a ghost. She didn't speak. Just waited. I dropped the duffel at the door and sat at the kitchen table like it was an interrogation room. She sat across from me. All right, I said. Let's skip the emotional whiplash. I want the full story. She hesitated. Tried to test the waters with some line like, do you really want to know everything? Every single thing, I said. Consider this your one shot at honesty. And she started talking. Hesitant at first, like peeling off a bandage one hair at a time, but it spilled out. She'd met Ricky at a client's gym. He flirted, she flirted back. They started jogging together, how romantic. Sweaty cardio and emotional infidelity at 6 a.m. He made her feel alive. That word again. Like I was a coma she'd woken up from. She said it was just kissing for a few weeks, until one morning after a run, they went back to his place for a protein shake. I guess protein shake is what we're calling sex now. She said it happened twice. Then she felt awful. Deleted the messages. Blocked him. Swore it was over. I asked why she didn't come clean then. Her response. I didn't want to lose you. Wild, right? She cheats, lies, covers it up, and it's my loss she's worried about. I asked one final thing. Did you ever think about telling me the truth before I found the messages? Her silence answered that question louder than any words ever could. I stood up, grabbed my bag, and said, we're not done talking. But I'm done pretending we're fine. She asked if I was leaving for good. No, I said. Not yet. But I'm not staying for lies. After that talk, I didn't storm off, didn't slam any doors. Just went back to my friend's place. Sat on the back patio, beer in hand, and let the silence fill up the space between who I thought I was and who I suddenly had to be. The next morning, I called her. Told her I'd be coming by after work, not to move back in, but to have the talk. She asked, what talk? I said, the talk where I stop being the guy who waits around while you decide if I'm worth being loyal to. That night, I showed up with a notepad. Real old school. Bullet points and all. I wasn't about to let this turn into some circular, gaslight-filled mess. I had 3 things I wanted. Full transparency, phones, emails, all of it. Counseling, joint and solo. Time apart, physical space to think without her crying in the hallway or trying to seduce her way out of accountability. She looked at the list and had the audacity to smirk. This feels like a contract. Good, I said. Because this is what rebuilding trust looks like. It's not hugs and rom-com speeches. It's hard terms, and you either sign up or step off. She agreed to everything. Whether that was out of guilt, fear, or a real desire to fix things, I still don't know. But it was a start. A controlled burn instead of a wildfire. I told her I wasn't promising anything beyond this structure. That I'd make no emotional commitments until I saw sustained effort. No performance. No manipulation. Just day-by-day action. And then I said something I didn't know I'd been holding on to. You broke something I can't guarantee will ever be whole again. But you don't get to decide how I heal. I do. That one hit her. Hard. I booked a cabin about 2 hours out of town, just a one-room spot in the woods with spotty Wi-Fi and no one asking me how I'm doing every 5 minutes. It wasn't some dramatic retreat. I just needed quiet. No phones buzzing, no crying wife, no damn protein shake metaphors. Just me, a couple books, and a cooler full of grilled meat and bourbon. The first night was rough. The silence? Deafening. I thought it would be peaceful, but instead, it felt like all the noise I'd been suppressing came rushing in at once. The questions, the second-guessing, the memories. Watching old moments of her laughing with me and wondering if she was ever fully in it, or if I'd just missed the signs since day one. But somewhere around midnight, sitting by the fire, I remembered who I was before this marriage. Before the betrayal. Before the overthinking. I remembered the guy who hiked solo for fun, who played guitar badly but loudly, who made pancakes at midnight because he could. That guy wasn't broken. He was buried. And I thought, why should I hand over the keys to my identity because someone else couldn't respect our vows? So I sat with that. I let the fire burn down low and stared at the stars like they owed me nothing, and that felt kind of liberating. For the first time in weeks, I didn't feel like someone's victim. I felt like someone recovering. I came back from that weekend not healed, not even close, but centered. Focused. Clear about one thing. Whatever happened next, I wasn't rebuilding us unless I could rebuild me first. I came back from the cabin and didn't go straight to her. I went home, my home, meaning the apartment I just signed a short-term lease on while she thought I was still thinking things over. See, that weekend away taught me something. Healing can't happen in a house where every room whispers what she did. So I got my own space. Small, minimal, but mine. A place where I could walk around shirtless eating cereal at 2 a.m., without feeling like a ghost haunting my own kitchen. When I told her, she panicked. "You're moving out." "I thought we were working on this." I said, "We are. But I'm working on me first. And I can't do that in a house that still smells like your excuses." She didn't like it. Said I was withdrawing, punishing her, being distant. Classic cheaters' guilt reversal, turning your boundaries into their abandonment issues. I calmly reminded her, she slept with another man. I didn't. Then I laid it out. If this was going to work, she had to meet me on my terms now. Weekly therapy sessions, no exceptions. Journaling. Yes, I made her write down her thoughts because I wanted her reflection in ink, not just crocodile tears. Full disclosure of past lies. No more, I didn't think it mattered, BS. And most importantly, I wasn't putting a timeline on forgiveness. She doesn't get to schedule my recovery like a dentist appointment. She agreed, through clenched teeth. Said I was being cold. And maybe I was. But that cold? It came from fire. I wasn't playing defense anymore. I was finally driving the damn car. I was in the middle of assembling a bookshelf from IKEA, because heartbreak apparently makes you crave flat-pack furniture and the illusion of control, when I got a message on Instagram. It was from Ricky. Yup. The man himself. Mr. Jogging Enthusiast. The guy who mistook a married woman for an emotional support kettlebell. He wrote. "Hey man. I just wanted to say I didn't know she was married when we started hanging out. She told me you guys were separated. I backed off the moment I found out. Just thought you should know." I stared at the screen for a full minute. Not because I believed him, hell no, but because it was the first time I realized this clown even knew my name. I didn't respond. What was the point? There was no apology big enough to make me feel anything but disgust toward the guy. Whether he knew or not, he still went through with it. He still showed up for cardio and cocktails, while I was out working, paying for a life he didn't help build. But more importantly, she lied to him, too. And that part? That shook me more than I expected. She wasn't just deceitful with me. She was out here crafting a whole different narrative to justify what she was doing. It wasn't a mistake anymore. It was a decision. A series of calculated lies stacked like bricks to build a story where she could play the misunderstood victim in everyone's eyes. I realized then, this wasn't about me not being enough. It was about her not being real with anyone. Not even herself. That night, I didn't text her. Didn't call. I just sat there, stared at the half-built bookshelf, and realized it was probably going to be sturdier than our entire marriage had been for the past 2 years. It was a Wednesday. Midweek, nothing special, until she showed up at my new place. No call. No warning. Just knocked on the door like we were still in sitcom territory and this was some quirky romantic misunderstanding. I opened the door, and there she was, mascara running, oversized hoodie, holding 2 coffees like that was gonna erase infidelity. "I need to talk," she said. I let her in. Not because I owed her that, but because I wanted to see what angle she was playing this time. She sat on my couch and immediately went into the act. I've been thinking, and I don't think it was an affair. I blinked. You don't think? She started talking fast, like she was trying to outrun the truth. It was a mistake, sure. A weak moment. But I never loved him. It wasn't like I was sneaking around for months or leading a double life. It just happened. And if you think about it, we were already emotionally distant. You weren't around. You were always working. I felt invisible. There it was. The gaslight grenade. Blame shifting 101, if she could make me feel like the absentee husband, maybe her cheating wouldn't look like betrayal, it would look like reaction. I let her finish. Let the air settle. Then I said, let me ask you something. When you told him we were separated, were we? She looked down. No. And when you kissed him the first time, did I exist in your head? She didn't answer. And when you lied to my face, multiple times, did that feel like a weak moment or a conscious choice? Silence. I leaned forward. You're not the victim here. Stop trying to narrate your way into being the one who got hurt. You detonated the bomb, you don't get to play shocked at the explosion. She started crying. Said she didn't know who she was anymore. That she hated herself. And for the first time, I didn't feel sad. I didn't feel rage. I just felt tired. Emotionally dehydrated. I walked to the door and opened it. You need to leave. And when you come back, if you come back, it better not be with excuses. A few days after her little visit and emotional TED Talk on why cheating isn't cheating if you felt lonely, I made a phone call I never thought I'd make. I called a divorce attorney. Not to file right then and there, but to understand my options. Knowledge is power, and at that point, I was sick of feeling powerless. Sick of reacting. I wanted to start deciding. The lawyer was calm, sharp, and straight to the point. Asked all the usual stuff, assets, debt, property, prenup, nope, and any documentation of infidelity. I told him I had messages, dates, maybe even a witness if you count my friend who watched me unravel for a week. He laid out the process. Said it didn't have to be messy. That a clean break was possible if both parties were reasonable. I thanked him, hung up, and just sat there. Not sad. Not scared. Just, still. That night, I texted her. Told her I'd spoken to a lawyer. Told her I wasn't filing, yet. But I wanted her to know how close the cliff was. That this wasn't a second chance. This was a last one. She freaked. Started sending walls of text. Promises. I'll do anything. Please don't give up on us. I love you more than ever. But I didn't respond. Not right away. Because something had shifted in me. For the first time in this whole damn mess, I wasn't acting from pain. I was acting from clarity. And that scared her more than any yelling ever could. The next morning, she showed up again, but different this time. No makeup, no manipulation. Just raw. Quiet. And she said something that hit me harder than all the lies before. I don't think I deserve you. I didn't disagree. We sat at the kitchen table again. Same spot. But this time, I came with a different kind of energy, calm, focused, firm. Like a man who knew the storm had already passed, and now it was time to rebuild, or walk away from the wreckage. She didn't speak first. Just looked at me like she was waiting to be told whether her marriage still had a pulse. So I laid it out. This isn't a reconciliation, I said. This is triage. If it works, maybe we rebuild something better. If not, we walk clean. No more back and forth. She nodded. Okay. I continued. 1. Total honesty. From this day forward. One more lie, even a small one, and we're done. 2. Weekly therapy. No skipping. No canceling. And I want full visibility on progress. 3. No contact. That means Ricky, and anyone else who enabled this mess. Blocked. Deleted. Erased. 4. Accountability. You don't get to cry your way into forgiveness. I need to see action. Changes. Apologies. Not performative, but persistent. And finally, I added, I'm not your emotional crutch anymore. If you're broken, you fix it. I'll walk beside you, but I'm not dragging you. She teared up. Said she understood. Said it all made sense. But I saw something shift in her eyes, like maybe, she realized the damage she caused wasn't just a bump in the road. It was a full-blown demolition. We agreed on a 90-day window. Like a trial period. We'd both commit to therapy, to honesty, to living separate but involved lives. If progress was real, we'd talk about next steps. If it wasn't, well, we'd already be halfway through the hard part. As she left that night, she asked, "Do you still love me?" I didn't answer right away. Then I said, "I love who I thought you were. And I want to love who you can become. But we're not there yet." 90 days passed. Some fast, some slow. Like watching a wound scab over, you don't see it heal day to day, but one morning you look down and realize it doesn't bleed when you touch it anymore. We stuck to the deal. Therapy, no contact, honesty, or as honest as she seemed capable of. She kept showing up. Cried less, listened more. Started asking real questions instead of performing guilt. For a while, I thought maybe, just maybe, we could make it. But something had changed. I had changed. About a month before the 90 days were up, I had dinner with some friends. Normal stuff, laughter, steak, that one buddy who still thinks, that's what she said, jokes are fresh. But walking back to my car, it hit me like a slap. I felt light. Not because of anything she'd done, but because I had started building a life without her in it. A life where I wasn't constantly auditing every word, glance, or silence. A life where trust wasn't a scavenger hunt. So when day 90 came, we sat down, one last time, and I told her the truth. I believe you're trying. And I appreciate it. But I don't want to rebuild this marriage. Her face crumpled. Not rage. Not protest. Just pain. She asked why, even though I think she knew. Because I'm better when I'm not afraid of being betrayed. And I haven't felt safe with you in a long time. That was it. We didn't scream. Didn't throw blame across the table like knives. We just sat there, two people realizing a chapter was over. She moved out a week later. Papers were signed. And I got to keep the cats, if you're wondering. Now. I'm good. Not always great. Still working through things. But I sleep better. Smile easier. And when I look in the mirror, I don't see a broken man, I see a man who walked through fire and didn't let it burn away who he was. If you're reading this and going through your own storm, here's my advice. Don't let someone else's inability to love you faithfully make you doubt your worth. You're not crazy. You're not weak. You're just human. And if they couldn't see your value, that's on them, not you. Heal loud. Heal proud. And when in doubt, get a cat. They never lie.